The DOJ said the investigation was coordinated through its task force KleptoCapture, export controls and economic countermeasures that the U.S. and foreign allies. It had previously designated Wagner under its Russia and Ukraine sanctions programs. The United States obtained a warrant Wednesday authorizing the seizure of an aircraft owned by PJSC Rosneft Oil Company, a Russian integrated energy company headquartered in Moscow. The Justice Department announced that the U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of New York found probable cause. The Boeing 737-7JU aircraft was subject to seizure based on violations of the Export Control Reform Act and sanctions issued against Russia following the unprovoked February 2022 invasion of Ukraine. The aircraft is believed to be worth approximately $25 million, the DOJ said. The CEO, president, and chairman of Rosneft, Igor Ivanovich Sechin, has been considered a close ally of Vladimir Putin since the 90s. He was included in sanctions imposed on multiple Russian oligarchs in March 2022. U.S. Treasury announces additional sanctions on Russia's Wagner Group. The United States on Thursday stepped up sanctions against the Wagner Group, labeling the Russian mercenary company fighting in Ukraine as a transnational criminal organization responsible for widespread human rights abuses. Wagner has been locked in a battle to take the towns of Bakhmut and Soledar in Ukraine's eastern Donetsk region, where Western and Ukrainian officials have said it is using convicts as cannon fodder. The U.S. Treasury Department, as part of action targeting dozens of people and entities in an effort to degrade Russia's ability to wage the war, said it designated Wagner Group as a significant transnational criminal organization on Thursday. Wagner personnel have engaged in an ongoing pattern of serious criminal activity, including mass executions, rape, child abductions, and physical abuse in the Central African Republic and Mali, the Treasury said in a statement. It had previously designated Wagner under its Russia and Ukraine sanctions programs. Russia's embassy in Washington did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Washington also designated other entities it accused of supporting the Wagner Group's military operations, including Russia-based technology firm joint stock company TerraTech, and targeted Russia's defense industrial complex. Treasury designated China-based Changsha Tianyi Space Science and Technology Research Institute Co., Limited, known as Spacety China, accusing it of providing Wagner with radar satellite imagery over locations in Ukraine to TerraTech. These images were gathered in order to enable Wagner combat operations in Ukraine, Treasury said. A source told Reuters this week that the United States has determined that some Chinese companies are providing non-lethal assistance to Russia for use in Ukraine. China's embassy in Washington did not immediately respond to a request for comment. A representative for Spacety China could not immediately be reached for comment. Referencing court documents, the DOJ said the sanctions issued against Russia by the U.S. Department of Commerce's Bureau of Industry and Security impose export controls and license requirements to protect U.S. national security and foreign policy interests. More specifically, expanding prohibitions of the export, re-export or in-country transfer of U.S. manufactured aircraft to or within Russia without a valid license or license exception for aircraft owned, controlled, under charter or leased by Russia and the country's nationals. According to the DOJ, the Boeing jet owned by Rosneft was manufactured in the U.S. and was most recently in the States in March 2014. It is currently believed to be operating in Russia, including travel to and from the country, which violates of the sanctions and regulations issued under the ECRA. The DOJ said the investigation was coordinated through its task force KleptoCapture, an interagency law enforcement task force dedicated to enforcing sanctions, export controls and economic countermeasures that the U.S. and foreign allies have imposed on Russia following its aggression in Ukraine.